Hello, this is Fat Cat 8 again, and I have come back with another video, specifically Redstone, about a new, or rather an old, Redstone contraption that I have built called Minefield, which is a game within Minecraft. So as you can see, this is pretty large, as most Redstone contraptions are pretty large. But it's actually really simple. I know that sounds rather strange after looking at this, but what you see is repeated, or like a certain circuit that's been repeated many times, and it does a really simple thing. And I can explain that. And so, basically, the idea of Minefield is that you have a 8x8 grid, and you have a row of arrows above the grid and a row of arrows below the grid. And you start out in the top arrows above the grid, and you try to find the path to the bottom arrows without hitting a mine. And you do this by using the arrow keys. You can't go diagonal, but you can go down, up, left, and right. And you have 10 hearts per level. And once your hearts are gone, you have failed the game. And so, I will start the game. And we see level 1. So I'll go down. And there is going to be quite a bit of lag, just because vanilla redstone is very slow, at least for very long distances. And so I haven't hit anything yet. And then, ooh, my heart's gone. There's an explosion. And there we go. Okay, so, and it takes you back to the top once you've hit something. So, you can't just blunt force your way through it. Now, since I've programmed this, I know exactly how to beat it. But, I'm not going to be showing you all the levels in this video. So, if I ever do come out with a download, you can at least have some fun with it. And then we hit the bottom arrows, which takes us to level 2, and it restores our hearts, because you have 10 hearts per level. Which you may think that's a lot, but if you were to play it and you didn't know you didn't know where the mines were, you would be glad that you'd have that many. And so number 2 is a little bit more tricky. And you don't have to like wait between button presses. Like, I know some redstone things require that you give them a little bit of time to compute before you press another button, but this one doesn't care. You can press buttons at the same time and it'll still execute your command. And so, successfully beat level 2, and now we're at level 3. I'll show you what happens if you lose, which this is going to take some time, so I will pause it. Okay, so we're down to 1 heart. And we get the mine explosion animation, and game over. And restart game. And if, like I said, if I actually do come out with a download, then I'm gonna leave what happens when you win to let you guys find out, and basically just let you guys explore the rest of the levels. But I can show you how it works without really telling too much information. So when you input your arrow keys, and by the way, we're not in the game because restart game doesn't actually start it again, it just basically refreshes it. And so you could, you can move around on the game board, but it's not going to do anything because the levels haven't been loaded. So you could draw pictures in your spare time if you want, but anyway, how the cursor works, you have your 4 directional keys, and those are these 4 pillars of pistons here. Basically, the signal down here pulses really short, and it pushes the piston up and retracts it, which pushes these blocks up. And once this block is up here, it'll send a redstone signal over here, which will push it down, but at the same time, it sends one on this redstone wire, which sends the next one up. Anyway, that's how you get the signal up there. It's pretty fast. And so once the signal is up here, it goes into two directional pulse counters, which means that you have a clock next and a clock back on each pulse counter array. And I'm not sure which is which, but let's say the top one here, this top wire, is the next clock, meaning every time it pulses, it will index these lights here forward in this direction. And then the one below it, this long line below it, does the opposite, and it will index the lights backwards. And so that would be your y coordinate, y or x, it doesn't matter. And you have another one over here. And if you know how circuits work, then you can imagine there's an AND gate in the middle. So whenever the condition of 2 lines are true, then it sends a signal down to the screen, which is this piston. See how this piston is pushed down and none of the others are? And so that just pushes this iron block down and sends the signal through, it sends it to this wire, which turns this torch off, which turns this torch on. And this is also functioning as a latch, because as you see, there is a piston down here, but it doesn't immediately push the blocks back up, because this piston remains down, as long as the cursor is there. Once it retracts this piston, this bottom one still won't push up, because it is connected to the screen reset, which is just a like a massive redstone array that is controlled by various components of the processing unit of the game, which is over here. This is what I call the motherboard, because similar to a motherboard, what it does is it takes inputs and outputs from different components and runs them through a logical algorithm and affects the others by the conditions of the previous ones. Which means that basically this is the heart of the game. It's really small compared to the rest of it.